Hello, JCI Michigan. Welcome to your last installment of the JCI Talks for this year. As you can see, we are still in the midst of a pandemic, so we're all enjoying this from our homes. I'm really excited about this topic. As we've all spent the majority of this year converting things to a virtual world, it really dawned on me that having only virtual connections with people would affect their relationships. And I thought we should talk about that. And when I say affect, it could be good, it could be bad, but I think it'd be good for us as a young person's organization to talk about how that has changed our relationships that we do have. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. I am not throwing away my shot. Our words we've probably all heard many, many times during this quarantine as we watch Hamilton on Disney Plus. But I feel like this speaker really embodies what that means. I've known her for a few years. We are from the same home chapter, and she has taken every opportunity that she has been given to excel. In her local chapter, she's held leadership positions, and she's even taken over the newsletter and made it fun again. She enters competitions, she encourages others, and her TikToks are pretty stellar. Everyone, please welcome Kristine Baker.
So the topic of how has a digital world helped or hurt your personal relationships was one that I was very, very excited to get the chance to kind of speak on and really kind of dive into what that meant for me. Um, I was fairly young when the internet first became a thing and when the digital world kind of started, about fifth grade, so 10 or 11. But this was something that kind of entered my life at a very, very, very good time. We had just moved. I had moved from a larger town city to a very small town. We're talking the only person that I knew prior to moving there was the daughter of the lady who used to cut my hair when we would go visit my grandma. Um, and I started off middle school as the awkward kid, and that did not stop. I was constantly, the usual middle school stuff. Everything is hyper focused on. The kids look for any reason to pick on you, and I hated it. I hated every single minute of it. I hated school, every bit of it. And what would happen is I would come home and pretty much not really necessarily unmonitored, but I had mostly free reign to the internet. Um, and on the internet, I could be whoever I wanted. I had a wealth of knowledge at my fingertips, and being somebody who really liked, reading and researching and all the things that, you know, make you nerdy, um, I could converse with people my own age, people older, people younger, whatever, behind a screen name and an avatar. And I loved it. I did not necessarily have to be who I was in person. Um, I could be more confident if I so chose. I could ask the questions that I was afraid to ask maybe my parents or my older sister or my teachers, and I could get those answers without judgment and a lot of times without bias. And it gave me a more even footing of the things that I did not know compared to my peers. And a lot of that, transitioned on over into high school and good old MySpace. Um, I had a very love hate relationship with MySpace and kind of the start of social media because in most instances, yeah, I could probably still have kept my dorky username and, silly little pixel avatar And probably most people wouldn't have really cared. But MySpace, I could put my name. I could very dangerously put my location or my age, whatever I chose. I could put my name and I could put a picture of me. People could see who I was and send me messages, and I could send messages to my friends or, even people I had connected with, my old schools and other groups that I was in. And it it definitely went sour, because my photo was out online. Everybody knew that, I wasn't I wasn't exactly thin. And that led to a lot of kind of that start of online bullying where you would get unsolicited messages from people who wanted to comment specifically on my weight, specifically on, you know, things that I can't fix right away. But the thing that made it different from the in person communication was the fact that I could control the narrative. If I didn't like what they were saying, I didn't have to respond. I didn't have to satisfy them with crying or calling them a name back or anything to give them that power. We had to go to a block button. I could just press block and go on with my life. And that gave me a lot of confidence to kind of navigate my high school years, still being kind of nerdy and dorky and awkward, um, giving me those real life skills to more or less ignore people as a real life form of blocking, basically. Um, as I transitioned through high school into things like Facebook, and I know there were a couple other social medias right around when I was leaving high school, but now I could still connect with the people that I did want to connect with. And I got so much joy out of that. I could talk to my cousin who lived 14 hours away from me, or I could, you know, send a message to my friend from elementary school that I randomly stumbled across on Facebook. And having all of those opportunities to not only connect with people on my terms and my schedule, also gave them the opportunity to interact with me on their own schedule. I didn't have to be on all the time. I didn't have to, you know, look like how I am now and have a face to face conversation with pre made responses. I could give it a couple hours if it was something that I didn't know an answer to or something that I didn't feel comfortable talking about, and find the words. And it was really beneficial. And I believe that that is something that has allowed me a chance to become more confident as an adult and more settled in how to converse with others. Had this not been something that I had around when I was in those middle school years, I think I still would be that very awkward, very shy person who really didn't go out of their way to try to get to know others. And it's definitely something that I'm always going to be continually grateful for, and always know that I have that opportunity to not have to be on 100% of the time to maintain relationships with people.
Our next speaker has been a member of the Ann Arbor JC since 2011. She's our current District 3 director for JCI Michigan, and just recently she has become the programming vice president elect for JCI Michigan. And more than that, this person has really shown me what it's like to be an active JC. She's very involved in her chapter, involved in her community. She genuinely cares about the people around her. And I am so excited to introduce to you Karina Townsend.
Hi, JCI Michigan. Karina Townsend here. I just want to first say thank you, Kimmy, for including me in this. I'm excited to talk to you about how the digital world has helped my relationships. And mostly I think about that in terms of the last 5 years. Prior to that, I honestly think I took our digital landscape and opportunities for granted because they've more or less always been around for many of us. and or we live so close and are constantly using phones, we're able to connect. But 5 years ago, I moved abroad. I lived in Prague. That was my plan. I was going to go there for 2 years and get a master's in international business. And I went completely by myself. I knew absolutely no one, which was really very terrifying. Also very exciting, but very terrifying because I was very much a creature of habit, and although I always wanted to live abroad, was just really scared. But the one thing I had to remember was that I was able to keep in contact with my family and friends and JCs via social media and email and all of the things that were still available to me. But the most, I think, important thing was being able to stay in contact with my family, especially my grandma. So my grandma's in her 90s, and I really loved being able to send her pictures of my adventures since she's not on Facebook and she doesn't have a cell phone. This was my way to connect with her, and she's so sweet. She knows how to type, but has never really used a computer. So she would actually write down all of her letters on paper, and my aunt would type them up in response to my letters or my emails and my pictures that I would send. But beyond that, it was really nice to have Facebook and WhatsApp and a few other tools to stay in contact with my friends and family. I spent a lot of time on the phone and FaceTiming with my parents and my siblings, and even some close friends, so I could show them where I was living, show them what my world looked like, and it really, built and created this relationship with them that I feel like I wouldn't have necessarily taken advantage of had I lived a couple miles away. I felt like I talked more to my parents and family because I was so far away, and I wanted them to know what I was doing, and I wanted them to be updated on that. But additionally, because of all the social media and connection tools, I've been able to stay in contact with all of my friends that live abroad still. And during my time in Prague, I actually was given the opportunity to go even further away and spent a semester living in Hong Kong. And it was nice to be able to connect with all of my friends, the ones that I had in Prague, the ones I had in Michigan. And, I can't thank technology enough for all of those things because, regardless where I am in the world, I am still able to pull up Facebook and see what my friends in Hong Kong are up to, or my friends who are living in London. And so because of those tools, I'm still in contact with all of those friends and have actually gotten to travel to see them since I moved back to the States in 2017. But beyond, the experiences of using technology to build my relationships and maintain relationships while living abroad, I think in the last 6 months, as we've spent more and more time at home, and it was very hard at times to connect with friends and see them because we weren't allowed to leave our houses, or we spent all of our time working from home on our computers. But for me, I was able to reach out and connect with a group of my college friends, and there are about 15 of us, friends and significant others. And it was so nice to have a group of people to meet with weekly or bi-weekly and just catch up on life. And beyond my wonderful experiences with the digital world, helping support my relationships, whether I was abroad and now during this quarantine time, our digital world offers us a lot of opportunities to learn and evaluate our beliefs, and especially during the Black Lives Matter movement. I've been so thankful for my friends and family that are constantly posting articles and stories that have helped me be a better advocate, have helped me, take a moment to learn about what's important not just to me, but to our country and what things need to change. And so for that, I'm very thankful, because I think specifically of one friend who is also a college roommate who about 5 years ago, her constant Facebook posts would have been more of an annoyance, but now her posts are always very educational and sometimes very sad, but I appreciate her taking the time to do the research and send all of these materials out into the world. So for someone like me who's looking for content to read, it's right there. And with that, I just want to say I'm very thankful for the digital world that has helped build my relationships, helps make me better educated. And I want to thank Kimmy Tolliver again and JCI Michigan for giving me this opportunity. Have a great Saturday, everyone.
Our next speaker is a Rochester area past president, dual member with Petoskey area, Senator 77899, and our current chief of staff. She's also one of the most kind, the most inspirational, and the most motivational JCs I've met. Everyone welcome, Jocelyn Moellering.
If COVID has taught us anything, it's figuring out what really matters in our lives. It's made us reevaluate our priorities and focus on what we really need to survive and to thrive. Yes, toilet paper is definitely one of those things. But I found that people is what I need. Not being able to connect with people in person for extended periods of time, especially close friends and family, was arguably one of the most difficult aspects of lockdown for me. So we got creative and we found ways to connect virtually. But we all know that's not the same. We crave face-to-face connection. And as much fun as it was to learn how to make a whiskey sour over Zoom, nothing replaces sitting down and just talking with a good friend. This hyper digital world of COVID has helped some of my relationships, believe it or not. I met a senator from my own home chapter at a Zoom social that I'd never met before because he lives on the west side of the state. I got to attend super fun trivia nights and virtual happy hours and murder mystery nights. And I got to play Jackbox and Uno with JCs from all over the state and the country, people I almost never get to see in person. I got to know many of those people better than I had before lockdown, and I'm really grateful to have had that opportunity to connect in new ways with them. But beyond the world of Zoom, being in your own home for days and weeks and months on end, it provided a space for our family to get creative. Without the hustle and bustle of music lessons and robotics and Cub Scouts and a ton of homework, we figured out new ways to spend time together. I learned that my one son, who thrives at school, had the most difficult time with virtual school. He missed his friends, and he cried on a regular basis because of it. He is one of us who craves face-to-face connections and thrives on that. My other son struggles with school and with making friends, and virtual school for him worked really well. He was able to work at his own pace and complete his assignments more efficiently than he does at school. This taught me that the people you might think are struggling the most without face-to-face human connection might surprise you. But I also got to know my children in a much deeper way. I could see their fears and their challenges and their joys and their silliness in a completely new way, spending week after week at home with them and Dan. We had more board game nights and more movie nights. We adopted a dog and worked together as a team to make her a part of our family. My oldest had the time to finally master riding a two-wheeler after years and years of being terrified of it. Our family completed long overdue home improvement projects, and we actually had a lot of fun doing them. I am insanely grateful that I have amazing humans that live in my home with me. Even though they drive me crazy sometimes, I honestly can't imagine living alone during lockdown. On the flip side, I have seen firsthand how this hyper virtual setting allows people to show some of their least pleasant personality traits. It's allowed people more than ever before to hide behind a screen and be unkind to those they were once close to. Without face-to-face interaction, maybe they felt like they can put others down and create division without repercussions. I'm not even really talking about politics because that's a whole other issue. As people's world have closed in on them, they seem to forget that those on the other side of the screen are real people with real feelings. I think one solution for this is to think twice about what you say online or in a text to someone and ask yourself how you would feel being on the receiving end of it. And really, just like I tell my students, use the acronym THINK. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And sometimes I like to think of the I as, is it important or does it improve the situation? If it doesn't pass the think test, it's probably best left unsaid. And if you're on the receiving end of an unkind, unpleasant, and unproductive online conversation, I think the best thing is to not engage, but to ignore it and move on. Trust me when I say I know how difficult that can be, but in my opinion, having the last word is not as important as your own mental health and being able to live without that toxicity in your life. So in a way, the digital world has hurt some of my relationships, but for the most part, they were relationships that I realized weren't really benefiting my life. What I've learned in the last 7 months, as our digital lives have taken center stage, is this. Check in on your friends as often as you can. Be patient with yourself. Have empathy for others. And figure out your priorities for what and who you need in your life to survive and to thrive. Everyone has a different comfort level right now with seeing others in person. Remember to respect their choices and support them in those decisions, even if it doesn't make sense to you. Continue to be smart and safe so that we can all get back together again even sooner. Take care, y'all.
Our last speaker has given up her spot for the first two JC Talks so that other people could have a turn. Not only that, when the world turned upside down and we could no longer be together in person, she took that opportunity to still try to make sure that her year as president was memorable, and not only that, but impactful. So we have had a lot of changes this year, but I feel like Sarah has handled them well and with grace. And I am so happy to present to you your last speaker for JCI Talks, Sarah Austin.
Hello, JCI Michigan. It's Sarah Austin, your 96th president. Today I'm going to talk to you about how the digital world has helped my personal relationships. Now, as many of us are now looking back on history, we have two time periods. There's the pre-COVID and the post-COVID. And I think I can tell you about times where my personal relationships have been benefited because of technology and the digital world that we're in now in both situations. First, let's start pre-COVID. Growing up, my family was very close on my mom's side. All of my mom's sisters lived within an hour of us. We got together for every birthday, anniversary, holiday, and quite frankly, random days of the week to get together. I was also blessed in that my mom's extended family was mostly in Chicago. That meant that Thanksgiving dinners alternated between the Detroit area and the Chicagoland area, and our general Thanksgiving dinner included at least 20 people, sometimes many more. That allowed me to grow up very close with my family on that side. Unfortunately, my dad's family lived in New Hampshire, and in the 80s and 90s, we didn't get to see them very often. And of course, digital technology didn't exist for that. So I would get the occasional birthday card or get on the phone when my dad would talk to my grandparents every now and then, but I didn't get to actually be close with them growing up because of the distance. Now fast forward to 2020. I have a brother who lives in the Philadelphia area and a niece and nephew. Now, I obviously can't be at all of the events that family is going to, and I can't be there in the stands when my niece is performing her ice shows, but because of technology and social media, I'm able to see her routines posted on Facebook. I'm able to talk to my niece on video chat and I'm able to watch her open her Christmas presents. I'm able to watch my nephew open his birthday presents and say, Aunt Sarah and Uncle Danny, this is the best. I'm also able to connect with my cousins from across the country who are doing various things in their careers and lives that I wouldn't be able to see and participate in if it wasn't for digital technology. It allows me to stay close with my family, even though I can't physically be there. Next, my friends. I've had the ability to connect with friends who've moved across the country and the world. Many of my friends from high school joined the military and then moved to duty assignments across the world. Facebook, Google Hangouts, WhatsApp, all of these technologies have given me the ability to stay in contact with my friends, no matter the distance, no matter the time change, no matter what's going on. Whether it means that we're setting up Facebook video calls at 6 a.m. my time, or it means we're just exchanging messages through Hangouts spread over multiple hour time differences, I'm able to stay connected with them and stay close with the people who matter. Finally, the JCs. One of the most amazing parts of JCI is the people that you meet. I want to take you back in time to when I was in middle school. We took a cruise as a family, and I made some friends on the cruise ship. Now, back in the early 90s, you couldn't share email addresses or connect on Facebook. So what did we do? We exchanged actual US mail addresses, and a few of them I got phone numbers from, but that required long distance, and there was no way I was going to be able to call on a regular basis. So we exchanged letters and postcards, an occasional phone call, but quite frankly, lost contact because, well, mail and phone calls just aren't the same. I want to fast forward to my first JCI USA National Conference. While at that conference, I met a New York JC named Mark Napierkowski. Mark was representing New York on their debate team, and Danny and I were representing Michigan for ours. Now, Mark and Danny and I hit an instant connection. And of course, because this was no longer the 90s, we exchanged email addresses and connected on Facebook. Now, when I first got this connection, I thought, okay, great. I met somebody from New York. This is awesome, but we're probably going to lose touch. Little did I know how wrong I was. First of all, Mark and I still to this day are close friends and share stories with each other and keep connected in each other's lives because of social media. But more importantly, I want to explain an example of shortly after that trip to Florida where I met Mark. You see, Danny and I were driving back from New Hampshire across New York, and it was winter. The freeway in New York notoriously closes in Buffalo whenever there's snow. So Danny and I were driving back to Michigan, and the road got closed. I jokingly posted on social media that I really hoped the Mack truck we were following knew where it was going. Little did I know how quickly Mark would see this. Within 15 minutes of me posting this on Facebook, I had a Facebook message from Mark saying, I know where you're at. I know JC's in the area. If you're not back on the highway in 30 minutes, call me and we'll put you up for the night. Now, in addition to showing just how much JCI is a family, it showed how connections on social media can really possibly save your evening. Now, luckily, the Mack truck did know where it was going. Danny and I did get back on the expressway. But it's one of the first and most important lessons I've learned about JCI, how it's all about the people and it's all about the connections. Throughout my JCI career, I've met JCs from across the country and across the world. And those connections through Facebook have truly been more than just one of the names on the list of friends. I have friends in Switzerland and Sweden, many in Canada, friends in France, friends in the Caribbean, friends in Africa, all because of conferences that I've gone to with the JCs. In addition to being able to connect with these people on a personal level, I've been able to connect with them on a JC level. I've been able to see the things that they're doing in their communities that are similar to the ones that we're doing in ours. Now let's fast forward to post-COVID. I've seen amazing things done with digital connections since COVID hit. My parents celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary this summer in July. It was supposed to be a big party, but COVID. Instead of just throwing the idea out the window, we were able to have a virtual party, including toasts, through Zoom so family from across the country could connect and wish them well. I've seen friends connecting and collaborating across the miles, whether it be mask directions, sharing food relief programs, how to put up with kids while homeschooling, and most importantly, seeing friends share their naked truth of it's okay to not be okay. You see, many times social media we think only shows us the good things. But in post-COVID days, I've seen more friends sharing their stories of what's not happening perfectly, making everyone feel that it's okay to not be okay. Finally, the JC digital connections have been abundant during COVID. Virtual meetings and socials, trainings, we as JCs have found ways to provide even more opportunities to our members during this time of physical distancing. And we've learned just how important it is to continue these digital options once we can't be physically close. In conclusion, I think that the digital world has created many opportunities for us to build and grow in our personal relationships. Digital bridges bridge the gap of distance and time. It allows you to share a moment with a friend in a time of need, no matter where you are. It has allowed us to take anything COVID throws at us, but the key to all of these connections is putting in the work to connect on a personal level, even if not physically in the same place. Connecting is a two-way street. It takes work, but the reward is worth the effort. Thank you.